Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another video on ForgottenWeapons.com. I'm Ian McCollum, and today we're taking a look at a couple of pretty awesome stocked pistols. I mean, it just looks pretty unique, doesn't it? These are a Star MMS and a Star MB, and what's interesting about them is they're pretty much the last guns that were ever being made in this sort of stock holster configuration. These guys were being made as late as 1975, but in the same format as they had basically C96 Mausers at the turn of the century. Now, Star had been making stocked carbine versions of its pistols like this all the way back to the 1920s with the Model A carbines, and they set this format back then and they stuck to it for, well, 50 years. Now, the Model A carbines, carbine is kind of a misnomer. It was a pistol like this, a 1911 style pistol, fitted with a shoulder stock and fitted with extended mags, and what they called the carbine was a pistol with an extended barrel, about an extra 35mm, inch-and-a-half barrel. With these more modern examples, they never did the extended barrels, but they did still sell them as complete rigs with a shoulder stock and 3 magazines. And what they would sell is you would get one 8-round magazine, you would get one 16-round magazine, and you would get one ginormous 32-round straight stick magazine. Now, the difference between these two, we have an MB, which is in 9mm Parabellum over here, and we have an MMS, which is in 30 Mauser, or 7.63 Mauser, the same cartridge that the C96 broom handle used. That's over here. So these are both M-frame Star pistols, which is their large frame 30 and 38 caliber guns. So Star did the A and B guns originally, which were kind of small frame guns. They then produced the Model M and Model P frames later on. The M's were the 30 and 9mm guns, and the P's were exclusively 45 caliber pistols. So almost any, Star did a huge variety of options, and you could mix and match almost anything. So while there are a fair number of Model M's that were sold various places, only a limited number of those were actually sold with shoulder stock rigs like this. So let's take a closer look at these and I'll show you some of their details. So taking a look at the gun, this is pretty typical of late production Star firearms. So we have some kind of cheap plastic grips instead of the original wood. And then you can identify the model from the base of the magazine well. This, of course, is an MMS. So the S indicates a magazine safety, and the Model M being in either 30 or 9mm caliber. So the extended magazines can be differentiated because the 30 caliber ones, the 30 Mauser ones, have just a flat, smooth rear surface, where the 9mm Parabellum ones, for the MB, have this indentation in the back, which is there to push the follower forward just to make up a little bit for the shorter overall length of the 9mm Parabellum cartridge. These magazines are numbered for their capacity. So this one's marked 16. This one is marked 32. They're not serial numbered to the guns. And what's a little bit interesting is at this period, the magazines Star was producing all had detachable floor plates, like this one. And the standard 8-round mags for these guns have detachable floor plates, but the extended magazines, specifically in 30 caliber, do not. So these were probably left over from earlier production of Model A carbines or one of the other early extended magazine options, and they still had the bodies or the complete magazines, and they wanted to use them. If you look at the extended 9mm magazines, those do have the modern style of detachable floor plate. The MMS like this was made from 1971 until 1985. A grand total of only 1,174 of them produced, so really not all that many. However, they are actually the more common of these two to find in the United States. Despite production being lower, more of the MMSs were imported into the US than the MBs. And I should point out, until just recently, these had to be imported stocks and pistols separately. It wasn't legal unless they were registered as SBRs to combine the two, and because of that, ATF didn't allow them to be imported as complete units. Now, if we look at the actual stock attachment, it is a slot in the backstrap of the pistol. Pretty standard. This has become the the way that you do stock attachments all the way back to the C96 Mauser. You have a T-slot sort of lug on the back of the stock, the front of the stock, I suppose, with a spring-loaded catch. This is actually a really refined and really high quality and strong stock catch. So like the early Mauser stocks are much more fragile and liable to break. These Star stocks, they really got that design perfected. You will find that these are numbered. This one is 77. It's upside down there, but that number is not the serial number of the pistol. It is simply an assembly number, and it will be matched. This one is actually mismatched, but there will be a matching number on the inside of the stock slot of the pistol. And again, not related to the serial number of the pistol. These stocks do require sometimes some fitting. That's why they had those matching assembly numbers. If you get a mismatched stock, it may fit just right off the bat. You may have to do a little bit of hand fitting to it. In addition, the Model A carbines have been exempted by the NFA, or exempted from the NFA for quite some time. And the technical exemption was for a Model A pistol or carbine with an original Spanish stock. They didn't specify exactly what model of stock. And so a lot of people, well, maybe not a lot of people, but so a handful of people could maybe get their hands on a later production Model M type stock like this one, and it could fit on a Model A carbine. There are some ways to tell the difference. In fact, actually, I can just show you how you tell the difference. The Model M guns have this backstrap swell, the palm swell here. The Model A's did not. So when I attach this stock, like so, you can see there's a little bit of a gap here between the stock and the lug. And that's okay. It's not supposed to be flush. This has a little wobble like they usually do. It's the T-slot and the T-bar in there that make the connection, not this surface. At any rate, if you have one of these Model M stocks on a Model A gun, there will be a much greater gap in between the stock and the pistol itself, because there isn't that palm swell to take up some of the space. The one exception to that is one small, very late batch of MMS pistols that were shipped, I think, to Italy, were actually marked with a catalog or a category number on the frame. Those actually had stocks matched to their own serial numbers. But in the United States, at least, you're unlikely to ever run into one of those. Now, when you ordered a complete MMS or MB rig from Star, this is pretty much what you would get. They ship them in these cool red and purple boxes. Star automatic pistol. You would get a manual with the gun. You got a little cleaning rod. They probably didn't include the bits of cleaning patch, but you would then get the stock. The pistol was shipped with the 8-round magazine in it, and this whole thing in the stock. We can put that in there. So you got that in the box, and then you had your 16-round magazine and your 32-round magazine. The mags were both shipped wrapped in this thin wax paper. Now, some of the very late guns, basically when Star ran out of these red boxes, they switched to basically just a plain white cardboard box with a red and yellow label on the end. Our other gun here is the Model MB, and this is the gun, the version, chambered for 9mm Parabellum. Other than that different chambering, it's basically the exact same rig. You still get 3 magazines, a 32-round, a 16-round, and an 8-round. Stock is the same. The stocks are identical between the MB and the MMS. I should point out these stocks they vary a bit in color. Some are light, some are dark, but they're all unfinished wood. So if you run into one that's been varnished or has any sort of gloss finish, that's been added after the fact. They're really quite simple stocks. They were subcontracted out by Star. They weren't done in the Star factory itself. Good quality. You know, they're durable, they're reliable, they work, they fit, but they are kind of plain. There were more of these MBs manufactured than the MMS. There were 1,757 of these guys made. They were around for a long time, but they were actually only made in 2 discrete batches. They were manufactured from 56 to 1960, and then again from 72 to 75. And then they would stay in, you know, they'd manufactured enough to provide for demand going forward for many years. So they'd stay in the catalog, but they didn't actually have to make another batch of them until they ran out. So we can see the model marking there on the bottom of the butt, MB. And then on the side of the slide, we have the STAR logo and name, and then caliber, 9mm P. That P is for Parabellum, which differentiates this from 9mm Largo, which might be L or might just be plain 9mm. One of the cool facts about these things is within the last year, as of when I'm filming this, these have just now been added to the ATF's exemption from the National Firearms Act. So for those of us here in the United States, a setup like this no longer has to be registered as a short-barreled rifle. And like I said, that was added just within the last 6 months or the last year. So very cool that they can now actually be acquired and held in this configuration like they should have been. So if you would like more information on stocked STAR pistols or STAR pistols in general, the resource to check out for that is Leonard Antaris' book, STAR Firearms. It is the go-to reference for this material. Ton of information in there. Great book, and if you're interested, definitely pick up a copy. Thanks for watching.